It was a long time ago. A stranger came into a village, claiming to be a rabbi. Well, the villagers were deeply frightened, not by him particularly, but there had been bands of bandits in the area, and they were frightened that he could be something other than he was. And they rejected him. They would not take him in, wouldn't offer him shelter or comfort. And he left. And what do you think the rabbi did then? Well, he praised God. He thanked God. He reminded himself that God is always good. He was traveling very light. He was riding a donkey. He had a rooster with him for meals eventually, and a lantern. So he went off to the middle of a field, smoothed it out, and thanked God for a safe, dry place to sleep. But it was not a good night. The wind came up, blew out his lantern. A leopard came, took his rooster. A lion attacked his donkey. He survived. When daybreak came, he made his way back to the village and found it totally deserted, ransacked, looted. Because in fact those bandits had come. They had taken what they could, and they had carried off the people, encountered a caravan of slave traders, and that was it. And the rabbi thanked God. He thanked God. Because, well, if his lantern had been lit, they would have found him. If his rooster had started crowing, they would have found him. If his donkey had started braying, and it was a braying donkey, they would have found him. And he praised God. There's a beautiful passage from St. Paul, not in our readings today. Romans 8:28. For those who love God, all things work together for the good. I suppose every one of us can look back on our lives and identify moments and circumstances, heartbreaks and disappointments, failures and embarrassments that seemed like almost the end of the world at the time. And later we could look at it and say, thank you, Lord, what you led me to through that. If you've been following the Bishop's Year of the Bible, up until yesterday we were with the prophet Jeremiah, who was quoted in that first reading, or referred to in the first reading from Chronicles, that Jeremiah predicted this. That doom would come on the nation because of so much infidelity and darkness. It was a strange development. Israel is roughly a long, thin geographic region. And the land of Israel was broken into two kingdoms. 10 tribes in the northern kingdom of Israel, and the southern kingdom, Judah, only 2 tribes. But it was far more important because that's where Jerusalem was. The capital city and the home of the temple. One temple, one God. As Jeremiah prophesied, the Babylonians defeated the people. And many thought, that's it. We are no more. Because they not only took over the city and demolished most of it, but they exiled all those who were in leadership, craftsmen, skilled laborers, anyone who might come up with a crafty idea against the Babylonians. It was pretty much over. And if you notice the psalm today, or maybe check it out when you get home, Psalm 137. On the aspens of that land, we hung up our harps. Our captors urged us, oh, come on, sing us a song of Zion. Come on, sing us one of your folk songs. Do one of your dances for us. How could we sing the song of the Lord in a foreign land? If I forget you, Jerusalem, let my right hand be forgotten. Let my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth if I remember you not. It was over. Except, about 70 years later, the Persians defeated the Babylonians. And in the most unexpected development, the king of Persia, Cyrus, as you heard in that reading, took a liking to these Jews. And when he heard their story, he himself financed and gave them protection to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild, especially the temple. In this gospel, John chapter 3 begins with Nicodemus coming to Jesus at night, a member of the Sanhedrin. Who are you? What's going on? Nobody can do the works you do unless they're sent by God. And Jesus mystifies him with words about being reborn, born anew. Nicodemus takes him very, very literally. Well, how can a man re-enter his mother's womb and be born again? And Jesus kind of laughs at him. You're a teacher of Israel and you don't get this? Come on. In the passage, Jesus says, light came into the world, but people preferred darkness to the light. Look inward. There are all kinds of voices out there. This has been going on for some time. About doom and the end and hopelessness. Be careful who you listen to, because there's light in our midst. There's life in our midst. There's hope in our midst. That passage began just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the desert that saved those who were being bitten by these snakes. So must the Son of Man be lifted up. This is the start of our greatest hope. Jesus Christ, arrested, tortured, executed, buried. It was over until he rose from the dead. That's the anchor of our hope. This Lent, we've embraced this little motto, this theme. All things are beautiful in their time. There are difficult challenges in life. We have these nice sunny days. Did you see the forecast for tomorrow? It's going to get cold again. But you know, that's not going to last forever. We've been through this before. March is like that. So was April. In the face of difficulty, remember, there's more. Francis de Sales shares this little reflection. And it's really effective for every one of us. You see a cross coming your way with your name on it. You're run like heck the other way. But that's not what Francis says. For the sake of the one who sends it, embrace it, confident that it will lead to good. Twice a year, we get to pull out the rose vestments. This is Laetare Sunday, one of a couple of Latin words that simply means rejoice. Rejoice. I know it's a long season this Lent. We get to eat steak on Friday, I know. But man, when is it going to be over? Rejoice. It's going to be over. Because all of this is about looking toward Easter. All our difficulties are about leading us to life. There's always cause for rejoicing here. May God bless us all.